Hello, everyone, and welcome to another month of Moody Talks, which means another emotion. And it being full stride in the holiday season, I thought I would choose the emotion of guilt. Now, I've chose guilt because during the holiday season, people may have had, arguments or do not have the people that they want to be with because of differences, or maybe putting up boundaries. Or people who are in depressive episodes tend to feel guilty because they feel like they're not being the person that their family or loved ones want them to be. And during the holiday, maybe they feel as though they're pulling their families back, or they're just not giving it that they're all for them so that they feel as though everyone's celebrating. So I think guilt is a really important one to talk about this month. So we'll have the 4 Moody Talks, and this week I want to go through what guilt actually means. There are different ways to look at it. The DBT way of describing guilt is going against your own personal values and morals. So, you have your set of values, and that you go against those values for one reason or another. And that is where the guilt comes from, that's where the emotion comes from, that you've done something against your own code. Shame. So shame is a different emotion. I think people get them confused. Shame is when you go against social codes, society's values, and you feel that shame that you've done the whole group wrong. So if you're in a group and you've done something against the values of that group, that's when shame comes into play. So guilt is a personal, and shame is a more societal. And I hope that helps with figuring out those descriptions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to describe guilt, give you some words that people use, and we'll go through biological changes, that kind of thing. And I think most importantly, we should go through, when is it justified? Because we have justified guilt, and then there's non-justified guilt. So we'll talk about that as well. So here we go. What is guilt? And again, you can find these worksheets on my site, on mymoodymonster.com. So I'll put these up after I post, and you can download them and use them for your own purposes, or if you want to talk to someone else about it, they're there so you can use them. Okay? What is guilt? When you are disappointed in yourself because you broke your own personal values and morals. Okay, and that's what I said. The description words, some of them are remorseful, apologetic, regret or regretful, or feeling sorry, and wanting to put that out there that you're sorry for what you've done. Okay, so those are some description words. Next, we're going to go on to the biological changes you may feel. So, when you feel guilty, maybe your face starts to turn red and your body feels kind of hot, and you're blushing because you've maybe caught yourself in something you're doing that you didn't think you should do, or if you've done something with someone else, and in some way harm them personally. That you feel that like heat rising up in your face, maybe in your body. Like I tend to feel that right in my chest. So maybe having that hot red face come up. Nervousness or feeling jittery. So you just feel like you've done what you've done, and now you're feeling like that. What do I do? I'm so nervous. There's that nervous feeling and that regretful nervous feeling. And then sometimes it can be, especially if you're trying to speak, the hard to breathe, feeling out of breath and not being able to take a full breath, maybe while you're talking, or even not. These are all different personal biological changes, and you may have different ones, but these are just some that come to mind. So one of these, using these biological changes, knowing that you have them, can help you to check the facts and know that this is truly the emotion of guilt. Okay, and then we have the actions that we do after the guilt. Trying to fix the harm done. So, either physically or, verbally talking to the person and telling them, that you regret what happened, apologizing, confessing when the person doesn't actually know and you feel guilty and you want to let them know what happened. That's confessing to them, letting them know that that's what happened. And making amends. So doing something to help with it. Sometimes people go and do like gifts, that kind of thing, because they feel so badly they want to give the person something to make up for it, or just talking about it and saying, "I'm sorry, let's see what we can do to fix this," right? Okay, so I think those are really important things to think about. I think the biological changes part is really important because I have a problem with knowing which emotion I'm actually feeling at times. Sometimes I have a primary emotion and then it turns into a secondary emotion. Like say I'm angry and I'm angry at myself for what I've done, and so I feel guilty. Or vice versa, I feel guilty and then I go into anger or I go into sadness. So knowing the biological changes that come with that feeling of guilt is really important. I think a lot of people don't understand that they may be feeling something that doesn't fit the facts of the matter. Like I'm sad about something, but actually it really is something that I should be feeling guilty about. Okay? Again, guilt, totally valid emotion. Everybody feels it and everybody's supposed to feel it, and it's okay. And it's just the way that you deal with it that is the way to work through it. Okay. This is really important to me because I think a lot of times we have the problem of feeling guilty when we really didn't do anything. But the person is angry about something or they're sad about something and you feel as though you've caused that. So this is when guilt is justified and not justified. Okay? You purposefully hurt someone emotionally or physically. So you've gone out of your way to harm another person in some way, hurt their feelings, maybe hurt them physically in some way because you were angry and you just let your anger get all over the place. And so you've done something purposefully to someone that has harmed them in some way. And then you go against your values and make opposing choices to the detriment of yourself or others. Okay, so you start doing something and you know that you probably shouldn't do it. Something like that, like you started and you're not, you realized that it's happening, and you don't know when you finish and you follow through with it just because it's getting, you just need to follow through or whatever. So these are the types of times that you have a justification of feeling guilty. What is not justified? You make decisions based on your values that upset others who want you to do the opposite. So this is basically, putting down your foot, saying, no, that's not going to happen, right? You have no choice in your actions. The situation is out of your control. I think that happens a lot. And saying no to others, which is kind of like the first one, but I think people have a hard time saying no to people, especially if they've grown up in a situation where it was very hard to make a decision for yourself when you were a child. And so saying no to someone feels as though you're going to get harmed for that. So putting up boundaries and saying no when a person starts to cross them. So I think that that's a really important one to remember. So those are, that's like a nice start to discussing guilt and how we can have coping skills to deal with it, and in different ways. How to cope if it's justified, and how to cope if it's not justified, and maybe helping yourself to relieve yourself of that feeling when you don't really deserve to feel guilty in the first place. So we'll be discussing that throughout the month, and I hope that this has been a great start for you. Maybe think about the words that you use when you feel guilty. A lot of people use "I'm sorry." That's like a very, very typical one. But you may use other words that show an intensity of your guilt. And so I hope that y'all go back and take a time to do that for yourself, so that next week we can start talking about maybe doing some coping skills when it comes to guilt. So have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week. Bye.